Be warned, this is a true horror story. If you are camping or will be camping soon, I would advise you to watch another time and subscribe, because tonight you might check the weather for tomorrow. You might lay out a jacket. You might tell someone what time you'll be back. It feels like nothing. It's like the kind of moment that happens 1,000 times a year, all over the country, without a second thought. But for a small number of people, that moment was the last ordinary thing they ever did. They went camping. They did not come back the way they left. Across national parks and wilderness areas, there is a pattern that most people never notice, because no single case reveals it. You have to look at hundreds of them side by side. Retired investigator David Paulides spent years doing exactly that, compiling reports of disappearances in wilderness areas that behave differently than ordinary lost hiker cases. Not every case he studied was unexplained, but enough of them shared strange details that search and rescue researchers took notice. Here's the pattern. The person is often found, if they're found at all, in the location that searchers already checked, sometimes more than once. A creek bed, a ravine, a clearing 40 feet off the trail, ground that dog teams walked over days earlier and found nothing. Robert Koester, who literally wrote the book search and rescue teams train on, studies something called lost person behavior. His research maps how people move when they're disoriented, where they tend to go, how far they typically travel before help arrives. His data is based on thousands of real cases, and is remarkably consistent. People behave in patterns. That's what makes the outliers so unsettling. Because in a portion of these cases, the person doesn't behave like someone who's lost. They're found without shoes. Their clothing is folded, sometimes miles from where it should be. They're discovered in the terrain a rescue dog should have caught the scent of immediately and didn't. Dogs that have never failed before suddenly lose the trail at the exact same point, over and over in different cases, in different states, decades apart. Well, what does that mean? Nobody knows. That's the uncomfortable part. Some investigators point to something called elopement behavior, seen occasionally in dementia patients and young children who wander. It describes movement without clear destination, sometimes covering distances that seem physically implausible for the person's age or condition. It's a real, documented phenomenon, but it doesn't explain everyone. It doesn't explain the adults in good health who vanish from a marked trail in daylight, with other people nearby, and turn up dead or missing in a place that makes no sense. Take a hiker who steps 20 feet off a trail to take a photo in a view of their own group. 30 seconds later, they're gone, not far, not around a bend, 20 feet. And when the search begins, minutes later, there's nothing. No footprints in soft ground, no broken branches, no sound. You'd expect an explanation eventually. A fall, a wrong turn, something ordinary underneath the strangeness. And often that's exactly what investigators find. Once they dig deep enough, most wilderness disappearances resolve the way you'd expect them to. That's important to say. The pattern isn't proof of anything supernatural. It's proof that something in how we search, how we track, and how the human mind behaves under extreme stress is less understood than most people assume. Forensic psychologists studying panic and disorientation describe a state where the brain under acute stress can suppress normal risk assessment behavior entirely. A person might walk directly into a dangerous terrain at speed without registering the danger, because the part of the brain responsible for caution has effectively gone offline. It's called cognitive tunneling. It's real. It's measurable, and it might explain more of these cases than anyone wants to admit, because it means the wilderness isn't taking people. Their own minds are failing them, silently in the dark, exactly when they need to think clearly the most. But it doesn't explain the clusters. It doesn't explain why certain drainage basins, certain rock formations, certain unremarkable patches of forest have produced disappearances after disappearances across generations, while identical terrain a mile away has never lost a single person. Statisticians will tell you this is what human brains do. We see patterns in noise. We connect dots that were never meant to be connected. Randomness, spread across time, and enough acreage will always produce clusters that look meaningful and aren't. That's probably the real answer. Probably. And yet, the next time you plan a trip into the woods, you'll check the weather, you'll pack a bag, you'll tell someone what time to expect you to be back. It will feel like nothing. It will feel like the thousand of other times you've done it before. It felt like nothing to them too.